Well, hey, happy days! I've got players I've heard of, names I can pronounce, and players I'd like to see at West Ham next season. It's the Geo hat trick when it comes to a transfer rumour show. My favourite type of one to do. Much easier to discuss. And we're going to kick it off with Hayden Hackney, the 22-year-old midfielder from Middlesbrough. And if you were on this channel 2 years ago as a subscriber, you'll know what my thoughts are already. Hayden Hackney running things. Whenever I've watched Hayden Hackney, I've absolutely loved him. I would love to see him at West Ham. Not in the Scotland squad, which I know I'm going off at a tangent here. Bit of a disappointment. He's somebody that I wouldn't mind getting capped pretty quickly so that he's sort of stuck with Scotland. But he looks like somebody heading for the top. An academy graduate at Middlesbrough as well, at the heart of things for Michael Carrick. God, I look much younger and skinnier in that clip. To be fair, I was younger and skinnier in the clip. Anyway, regarding Hayden Hackney, he played twice for Scotland under 21s. We weren't able to cap him before he switched back to England. And that point is important because, of course, we've got the Euros this summer. England getting underway on Thursday against Czechia. And Hackney is expected to play a big part in this tournament for England. And I think that provides two issues if we were pursuing Hayden Hackney. Number one, I think you would have wanted to get this wrapped up already pre-tournament, because if he has a good tournament, the amount of clubs interested in him will increase, and there's quite a few strongly linked to him already, like Spurs and Stuttgart. It's not just English clubs, it's Bundesliga clubs especially keep an eye on the Championship for the top talent, as we're seeing with Bellingham going to Dortmund. Again, a different Bellingham this time, of course. So anyway, interest will increase. Price tag, although there's not been a rumoured price tag attached to him this week with all the reports, what we do know is back in January, Porto made an £11 million bid for him. Now, it was rejected, and it was believed it was rejected because it was so near the end of the transfer window, and Middlesbrough, of course, were in with a strong chance of getting into the Championship playoffs at that point. But I think it's a price tag as well. 11 million was too low for him. What do I expect him to go for? What am I guessing? 18, 20 million, maybe? I think, funny enough, Job going to Dortmund has set the bar quite high because the deal is worth 32 million. It's a lot of money. And I think Hackney is currently, today, I think Hackney's better than Bellingham. I expect Bellingham to go on and become a better player. There's 3 years between him. Bellingham's already played the same amount of games in Championship. They're not far off as Hayden Hackney. But in terms of which player is more ready today, I think it's Hackney. But ask me the question again in 3 years, I would expect the answer to be Bellingham when he is currently 22, which is the age Hackney is. And also in regards to the Euros taking place, a lot of players will say, I'm going to focus on the tournament and I will deal with the transfers after that, which I think is the right thing for Hackney to do, to focus on his tournament with England and then explore the possibilities, because it's expected he will leave Middlesbrough this summer. They will cash in on him because they failed to get promotion to the Premier League. Michael Carrick's been sacked. He carries a lot of market value, allows the new manager to have a lot of money to spend. If they can get 18, 20 million for him, that's a lot of money in the Championship to replace him. So it's expected he will go somewhere, and I would love him. I would love him at West Ham. So let's discuss the player himself. I think his strengths are in possession with the ball by quite some distance. In terms of his passing from deep in midfield, I think he's absolutely fantastic. In terms of dribbling with the ball as well, he's absolutely fantastic at that too. I think he's the only midfielder in the top 10% for progressive carries and progressive passes in the Championship for this season. I could have that slightly wrong, but I feel quite confident in that. He's the only midfielder in the top 10% for both things. Some players will be in top 10% for progressive passes, but not the carries, and vice versa. Hackney is in for both. Now, I've seen a lot of people describe him as a defensive midfielder. I would not describe him as that at all. If I had to describe him as something, it would be a deep-lying playmaker, played in a double pivot next to Morris, who's maybe more of the nitty-gritty type midfielder at Middlesbrough, whereas Hackney was the more technical midfielder. But the reason I wouldn't describe him as a defensive midfielder is because out of possession, a defensive midfielder would sort of imply he's strong out of possession. I'm not so sure that is what I would say Hayden Hackney is. I think it's something that needs to be improved on quite a lot. Now, his reading of the game is good, but he's just rash, gives away a lot of fouls, picks up a lot of bookings, very typical fouls, and a lot of them can be quite lazy and unnecessary as well. And when I'd watched Middlesbrough, and I've watched a lot of Middlesbrough over the last couple of years because of Michael Carrick. That's why I've watched a lot of Middlesbrough. I've got like a 3 championship rule. I mentioned it before, but Middlesbrough's the only team that appears last season and the season before that. 2 of them switched over last summer. Anyway, Middlesbrough won't be next year. They're coming off the list because of no Michael Carrick. So I've seen a lot of Hayden Hackney. And I just think that defensive side of his game needs to be polished. But there's a lot of potential there. And I think he's good enough for the Premier League. He just needs someone strong defensively and someone experienced next to him, I think, to get the best out of him. But he would be an upgrade on what we've got in the middle of the pitch. Because we currently don't have someone that makes that run with the ball at his feet from deep in midfield. We don't have it. Souček doesn't do it. Ward-Prowse doesn't do it. Paqueta doesn't do it. Alvarez is, I don't know, it's possibly the best one out of them. I mean, he's not very good at it. We don't have someone that can get the ball from deep, drive forward, try to take players on. Declan Rice was excellent at it and has got better at it, annoyingly. But I think Hayden Hackney would give us something we don't have. I love this transfer link, and I would love to see him at West Ham next season as well. Now moving on to another central midfielder in the Championship, and it's was now a Premier League club, is Sunderland, Chris Rigg. We've discussed him before. What I will say about Chris Rigg, though, is stepped up. In the playoffs, in the playoff final, I thought he really stepped up a gear, and he looked like one of the best players on the pitch. I was very, very impressed by his performances, actually. And again, someone that I would love to see at West Ham, but don't think he's the finished article yet. I think you'd have to be very patient with him. And I think if you were to sign him, the expectation would be he starts a third of the games, maybe, comes off the bench in a third, and we possibly don't even see him in a third of the games. But the potential this kid's got is massive. I have big hopes for him. To be fair, I've got big expectations for him as well. I think he just had a bit of fatigue, maybe the last third of the season in Championship. I thought he just faded quite a bit, but not just him. I thought Job did as well. But, like I said, stepped up when it counted. I think the best thing for him, I think Hackney needs to leave Middlesbrough. I think Rigg should stay at Sunderland. You're in the Premier League next season. Have a season in the Premier League. You might stay up, and I hope they do. And Sunderland's one of the teams I watched this season a lot of as well. They were part of the Championship trio for Gio. Stay at Sunderland. Job's gone. They were always going to have to sell. I say all have to. They maybe didn't, but they had a contractual situation with Bellingham, so they had to sort of cash in on him. But that's a significant fee they've just received. Now, of course, they had to sign their fee as well, so they've sort of cancelled each other out a little bit. They've got a big job on their hands to stay up. If this time in the year, Sunderland are still a Premier League club, they've done incredibly well. Rigg's going to get a huge opportunity at Sunderland this season. He's got a manager that trusts him. He's got a fan base that love him. I think he's in the right place at the Stadium of Light. My advice would be stay where you are. However, if he was to go and be on the move, I hope we'd be in the running for him. But he's one of those players that if Sunderland were to go down, you got to keep your eye on him, because he will be, I feel confident he'll be at a Premier League club in 12 months' time, whether it's at Sunderland or he's moved. I think August 2026, I think Chris Rigg is still at a Premier League club. Moving on to Sydie Peck, Sheffield United's 20-year-old central midfielder. Now, Sheffield United were not one of the 3, so I haven't watched them as much as other teams, but it's hard not to watch a bit of Sheffield United. They were on television quite a lot. Got a big opportunity this season because of the injury to Ollie Arblaster. Arblaster got injured, so Peck maybe got more games than perhaps he was expected, and played quite a big role under Chris Wilder as well. Need to see more. I don't have a strong opinion on Peck. Would I love him at West Ham? Would I not love him at West Ham? I don't know. There's a lot of games that I watched of Sheffield United. I was impressed, but there was some games where I just didn't feel like he was maybe quite ready for the Premier League. So I'm going to stay away from a strong opinion on Peck, if you don't mind. I'll judge him more this season. Now, Mayenda, the Sunderland striker, we're being linked to him as well. And maybe this is going to be the unpopular opinion bit. I'm not sure. He's punt. He's a punt. Hackney, not a punt. Rigg, not a punt. Peck, don't know enough. Mayenda, punt. Very strong, very fast. There's a lot to like about him. Scores really good goals, but misses a lot of chances. He'll get 5 chances. He'll score the hardest one and miss the 4 easier ones. I think if I was a Sunderland fan, I'd be very frustrated with him, but also very excited at the same time. Last season, not the one that's just finished, the one before that, went on loan to Hibs, played once or twice or something like that. He barely played. He went up to Scotland, barely played. At Sunderland, had to be patient, got into the team, and didn't, for a large part of the season, looked like he didn't really have a position as they were trying different things. And then towards the end of the season, he really found his form, finished with scoring 7 or 8 goals in the Championship in total. But he's only just turned 20, so he's a really young lad. The potential's there. I just think if we were to sign him, and again, copy and paste what I said about Chris Rigg, I don't think he should leave Sunderland. Stay where you are. You've got a manager that trusts you. You've got a fan base that loves you. You will get opportunities at Sunderland in the Premier League this season. It's a huge opportunity for him. But, hypothetically, if he arrived at West Ham, I still think you need another striker. Would I want Mayenda, Fullkrug and Coney, another player being linked to? Saying that, it feels a bit better than I thought. I was expecting to say, no, I wouldn't want that. Not sure about actually. But, in all seriousness, I think it would be Mayenda, Fullkrug and 8 other. And when I say 8 other, I don't mean a Coney. I don't mean another punt. I mean someone a bit more established. Let's say I don't want a punt. That's wrong. Like Kvaratskhelia or Brøndby, I don't know enough about him, so I would consider that to be a bit of a punt, right? But someone that's done it, that's what you say, a stronger league is. Danish league stronger than the Championship, is it? Maybe, I don't know. They're on par. I don't know enough about the Danish league to say. It feels like the Danish league should be stronger than the Championship, but would Brøndby, would Sunderland beat Brøndby? I don't know enough about Brøndby. But my point is, a more experienced, established striker, Fullkrug, Mayenda, I think that would be 3 good options. And ideally, next summer you might be looking at moving Fullkrug on. Mayenda's done well enough to step into that role. I'd be nervous to go into a season with Coney, Mayenda and Fullkrug. I'd be wary that there's not enough goals in that team. That would scare me a little bit. Now, we've been linked to a few other players, but I'm going to keep this one to the Championship edition, and we're going to finish off with Aaron Ramsdale. Steinberg was the one that linked us to all these players earlier on, by the way. That's where I got this from Jacob Steinberg. And he said West Ham are lukewarm on Aaron Ramsdale, so that's a bit of a relief. But the links to Josh Brownhill are more and more solid over the last couple of days. It's gone from very advanced talks on Saturday, and whilst it's just been reiterated, but there's been a quote from sort of a top source at West Ham, basically it's David Sullivan, right? Basically said, there's a little bit of room for wages and that's it. We need to sell before we buy. You might as well just tell us we're signing Josh Brownhill. It's basically because it's gone from we can't get anyone in, we have to sell before we get anyone in. That was the dialogue coming out of the club. It's changed slightly. It's changed. Today it's changed. It's gone from we can't get in anyone till we sell to we've got a bit of wages, but we need to sell before we physically purchase someone. It's basically saying we can get someone that's a free agent, right? It goes in line with that Josh Brownhill rumour. I don't know. I'm a proud NITK. Gonzo's an ITK in this one. He's spoken to someone. He was the one that broke the story. And I know who he speaks to get the story. But he's very confident. Gonza's very confident we'll sign Josh Brownhill. And because of that, it makes me feel quite confident. And then when that quote from Sullivan came out today, I thought, right, okay. It's all lining up that we're going to sign Josh Brownhill. My opinion on Brownhill has not changed since the video done on Saturday. So if you've seen it, you know my thoughts. If you haven't seen it, you can go find out my thoughts. My opinion has not changed. Anyway, Hayden Hackney, would absolutely love him at West Ham. Absolutely love him. Not just Hayden Hackney, though. I just want to reiterate, we would still need someone else, a more defensive-minded player to buy. We don't have that player at the club that I'd like. Ward-Prowse, Alvarez, Hackney in, other guy that I don't know in. Happy Gio. Get Hackney to the ball. Anyway, I'm off. Thank you very much for joining me. Please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up, subscribing to Hammer's Chat. And before you disappear, I want to point in direction of my YouTube channel, Tartan Gio. I've done a video today. It took me bloody ages to just make sure I was clued up on everything. Make sure it was factually correct. Done a video today on Crystal Palace potentially getting hoofed out of the Europa League by UEFA. If you want to know why or how likely, you can go check it out. I'll put a link on the screen in just a few seconds. The description, the link to the videos in description and pin comments as well. Or just go on YouTube, type in Tartan Gio, and it will be my channel will be the #1 thing for you. But thank you to anyone who has gone over there and subscribed and watched my videos and puts up with me talking about football away from West Ham. I appreciate it a lot. Anyway, fingers crossed for Hayden Hackney. I don't really believe it though, because it feels a bit too good to be true. But I shall catch up with you tomorrow.